What's up guys, John Bird III here. We're back again for another video, and in today's video we're going to talk about my finesse fishing slash BFS setup. Now I'm not a BFS guy, but I'm going to tell you the reel that I use for BFS, lighter tackle, if that's what you want to call it. But before we get into the video, make sure you hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel. I appreciate you joining in, and also hit that notification bell. That way you'll be notified for whenever we release a new video. But without further ado, we're gonna jump into it. So I did a video a while back about my finesse cranking setup, and that setup also applies to my BFS setup, and I'm gonna tell you why. So going into it first, we're gonna talk about the reel. The reel is the custom light shallow spool bait cast reel. Love this thing. Cast super lightweight baits. I'm gonna name some baits for you to keep in mind that this reel is very good at casting. KVD 1.0. Small little crankbait, super lightweight, hard to cast. A lot of people, you could probably throw it on a spinning rod, but definitely this reel right here would cast that bait a super long ways. Another bait is the Strike King inline spinner. So it's basically like a rooster tail, quote unquote. So you can cast that very well with. Sexy Dog, or the Bitsy Sexy Dog. Super small, doing some product testing with that last year, cast that thing a country mile. So all the new Bitsy baits that Strike King has to offer, I've thrown them on this reel and this rod, and it will send that a country mile. I'm just be honest with you. So the bait that I have tied on here is a 1.5 flat. And if you fish with a KVD 1.5 flat, the bait is super hard to throw. And I recently just fished a tournament, technically yesterday. So if you see in this video today on Sunday, I just fished a tournament yesterday on Lake Murray. Me and my buddy Fred finished 10th out of 160 boats with only 3 fish for 21 pounds. And we had big fish of the tournament, which was 861. So it was a super cool day. Definitely needed that to get the season started off right, to get the right momentum. But I was also throwing this bait around to try to get bit cranking. And like I said, because this bait is so hard to throw, you got to find the right setup in order to throw those lightweight baits. So a lot of guys like to get into BFS fishing, and Granville J, I think I'm saying that right, but this video is for you. Anyway, a lot of guys want to get into BFS fishing. I don't like using light tackle. I guess that's just me. The way that I got into bass fishing, I like bigger rods, heavier line, like close quarter combat. But with the amount of pressure that these fish are feeling on all the lakes and even ponds, you got to downsize sometimes. So picking up this reel right here would definitely help you to be able to downsize it. But you need the right rod to pair with it. So with the rod, I'm going to give you 2 options. So this one here in particular is the custom light, but it's a 7-foot medium light fast. And this rod is labeled, and I want to read it to you so I can make sure I tell you right. It's labeled finesse casting, shaky head, worm, small crankbait. But there's another option. There is a 6/8 model, medium light, fast, and it's actually labeled BFS. And so for all you guys who don't know what BFS stands for, BFS stands for Bait Finesse System. The purpose of BFS is to help you be able to downsize to use little itty bitty baits to catch highly pressured fish. But it's also a technique that, if I'm not mistaken, it originated overseas in Japan and stuff like that. And so their lakes are super pressured. So fishing with BFS baits actually helps with that. And so you can actually throw, if you want to try to throw a Ned rig, you can throw a Ned rig on here. If you like to throw a light shaky head, but you don't like to throw it and you don't like spinning rods, this is also a great option. That's why I picked this reel up also, because I'm not a big spinning rod guy. Now, don't get me wrong. I use it for throwing drop shots, for throwing like a wacky rig, but I can also throw a wacky rig on this reel. And I've actually done that before. I paired this reel up with the Team Lose Tier 1 series rod, and it's the jerkbait rod, and it's a 610 medium fast. To talking about skipping a wacky rig, oh man, lights out. So what I did was I paired this up with 8-pound braid, and I did an 8-pound fluorocarbon leader on here, and it was perfect. I was on Santee doing the same exact thing. Like everybody else using spinning rods, I was using this, and it's great. So with this rod, now this rod is super duper soft, And of course, because it's a medium light, and which is good because you need that when you're throwing lightweight baits. But it also has pretty decent backbone. Now, you don't compare the backbone of this to like a 7.4 heavy pigeon stick. It's not designed for that. It's designed for lightweight baits. But again, you have to keep in mind whenever you're downsizing in to the size of the baits, whether they just be hard to throw like this here, or whether they be your BFS stuff, you have to have a reel that is good for throwing that. But not only that, when you have a BFS reel, those reels are designed to use minimal inertia. So it's very easy to cast. So with the custom light shallow spool, of course, you know, the bigger brother is the traditional custom light. In a sense, this reel right here is comparative to like your 70 size reel. So any 70 size reel on the market, that's where the custom light falls into play. And I use my custom lights for jerk baits. I use it to throw, like again, 1.5 flat. So whether I'm using this or I'm using that, if I'm just going down the bank and I'm gonna be close quarters, I'm gonna go to the custom light shallow spool because I ain't gotta make a super long cast per se. Because if I want to make very, very long casts and I'm worried about line capacity, I go to the traditional custom light. Now, I want to say this. This reel right here, I've seen guys talk about this reel before in other videos. You can't put 20-pound line on here. I mean, you can, but you will have very minimum line on here. This reel is designed to have 8 to no more than 12-pound line. So let's say 12-pound line and below. I normally keep 12 on mine because for all my crankbaits, jerk baits, anything with treble hooks aside from traps, hybrid hunters, I use 12-pound line on. And so 12 is the lowest amount of fluorocarbon that I will go, aside from putting it on a spinning reel for those type of techniques. I won't go no lower than 12 on a bait caster. But I have, again, I put 8-pound braid inside an 8-pound leader just to test it out. But I tend to feel more comfortable when I'm using this with 12. So with 12, you can make a very long cast with a jerk bait. You're not going to spool this reel. If you hear guys saying they spooling this reel, that means they ain't got enough line on here. I'm just calling a spade a spade. You won't spool this reel with 12-pound line. If you put 8 on here, I think if you put 8 on here, you have just about 40 yards of line. So comparing this to like a Pro SP, you can put 40 yards of 20. Well, on here, you can put like 40 yards of like 8 to 10. You'll be good to go. So that's the reel. And like I said, 7-foot medium light or 6'8" medium light, whichever is your personal preference. I like the 7-foot. The 6'8" is, for me, it's a tad small because I like rods in that 7.2 to 7.4 range, but I played around with it and it'll work just fine. So for all my guys that are interested in getting into BFS, again, I'm not the BFS guru. I have some friends that have dove down into that wormhole and they got a chance to test out the custom light shallow spool and they were blown away. Now, I guess there's a trend in the BFS world where your drag or the drag in the BFS bait cast reel, it's like a clicking drag. I don't understand that 100% because I don't feel like it's the same as a spinning reel, but I can understand the point of wanting to have it. I guess it is the actual comparison of a spinning reel, but you just want to use the BFS side of it. So you loosen up your drag. I tend to lock down my drags on all my reels. And then once I catch a fish, depending on how hard they're pulling, I may adjust the drag there on all my casting reels. But again, I think the purpose of having the click and drag in a bait caster, more so BFS, is kind of that audible click to let you know that the fish is pulling drag, and it just kind of lets you know whether you need to back off it a little bit or add a little bit. So, but in my mind, like, I don't know. I don't know if it's really a need. So this reel doesn't have a click and drag. Like again, some guys, that's what they're looking for. This reel doesn't have that, but it still performs very great. Like anytime you're using a bait caster, any other time, a lot of bait cast reels on the market, traditional bait cast reels on the market, they don't have clicking drags. And if you're throwing a crankbait and that fish start digging, you back the drag off a little bit, you ain't worry about no audible click then. So I don't understand why that matters on a bait finesse system, or I don't understand I don't really understand why it matters on a BFS reel, but to each his own. Not a deal breaker for me. But again, definitely check out this reel right here and this rod right here, because you can do a lot with this thing here. Forward face sonar is a big trend right now. Everybody's going to spinning rods, which I understand the purpose of that when you're throwing a little bog head, jig head minnow deal or whatever, and you know, you're just working your spinning rod like this. But you can actually throw little swim baits, like little small swim baits on little small jig heads on this reel too. Now, I may get this comment. Now, if you ask me the question on how well would this throw a bait that is such and such grams, I don't know. Go use a converter and convert that grams to ounces, and I can better answer that question. So in the BFS world, I know that they talk about stuff in grams, but I mean, that's not necessarily my wheelhouse. But I do know where this reel shines the best, and I know where this rod shines the best. So anything I say, if you're going to use this reel, especially for BFS, I'm going to say, let's say a quarter and below, you'll be just fine. So again, super light shaky heads, 3/16 ounce weights. Again, like if you're throwing the Bitsy Sexy Dog, the Bitsy Red Eye Shad, the Bitsy Jerk Bait, the Bitsy Popper, the Bitsy KVD Splash, that's what it's called. The Bitsy KVD Splash, KVD 1.0, any small bait, this reel will excel in that. So if you're on the market, you're looking for a BFS reel, and you want to try this new custom light shallow spool, but you've been on the fence, definitely go ahead and give it a try. I know, like I said, I don't throw a whole lot of very small baits aside from like the 1.0, but I have tested those baits on this reel so that I will be able to talk about it with you guys and also be able to help answer your questions on it. Again, a reminder, this is not like the Pro SP where you can put 20-pound line on there. That's not what this reel fits. It fits 8 to 12-pound line, lightweight baits, or again, if I'm close quarter combat, I will put like a little KVD 1.5 flat or KVD 1.0, a smaller jerkbait like 100 size, anything like that. Work perfect with this reel. And whether you want the 6/8 medium light or the 7-foot medium light, you can't go wrong with either one. So definitely check out the custom light shallow spool and the custom light rods. The rods are phenomenal. They're all technique specific, and they have a lot of great models within that whole entire family. So that's it for today's video. Sorry I'm getting this video out late. Normally, traditionally, all my videos come out on Saturday at 7 p.m., but it's just been hectic all this week, and this week coming up is probably going to be even more crazy, but I will definitely make sure that you guys have a video for this Saturday at 7 p.m. But who knows, we might even have a special guest in the next video that you see, but stay tuned. So I'm JB3. I got to get back to living the dream. I got to pack, got to go out of town first thing in the morning. I'll catch you later.